Okay, so in between shots, I was repainting this, dropped the camera onto it. Shouldn't do too much damage that I can't fix, but this is the dangers of crafting, I assume. Okay, so I'm just gonna dab a bit of super glue to fix the areas I screwed up. Let's see, that would go here, I'm guessing. This piece goes down here, and this would go up top. There we go, good as new. So what I was intending to do on this video was to actually dry brush. As you can see here, I have a bit of a stone texture placed in, and what I did was went with PVA glue, coated the whole thing, put down the actual Woodland Scenics ballast, and then went over with a nice black again. And I kept the cap of the actual light bulb on the entire time, so it's clean. So I'm going to put this to the side while that dries. I'm going to bring back my little model of a scene. Now, for the sake of having this thing be solid, I'm going to give it a quick blast with my Rust-Oleum clear coat from a distance. Do not spray head on, it will dissolve the foam. So, spray about, if this was here, in the back there, about this far, basically you want to mist it from far away, so I'll cut back to when that's done. And I'm back. The only thing that would do is add a bit more rigidity to the actual model, instead of it being a bit more floppier, like it used to be. It's still a very fragile piece, though. I wouldn't recommend playing around with it, but I'm going to start by giving this a coat of dry brushing with my, Amish Gray. So I'm going to take my piece of wood here, make sure that nothing's on here, get rid of most of the paint on it, which should be good, and I'm going to start going in a downward fashion, start dry brushing. Now, allow me to move this camera so you can see me work. Hopefully it won't drop like last time. And I'll just start dry brushing on some grays. This will also cover up a few of the whiter areas where I missed some of the actual black. And as you can see here, it starts getting this texture, like on here. It's pretty much matching. I think for this case I won't have to add this, but here's a smoke. If you're going a lighter color, you would use that after this. And he would go a bit heavier on this. Trying to pick out all these details. I'm trying to leave the windows frames a bit empty in this, mostly because I'm going to paint those with brown, showing you how I do wood. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Maybe a few more coats will do it over here. You want to do this in layers. If you do too much, you can't go back. But if you don't do enough, you can always add another layer. Be patient, too. This is a very tedious process. That's looking pretty good on that side. Gonna start doing this now. There we go. Get along the edges here while I'm at it. I forgot on this side. Being incredibly careful and not applying too much pressure to the actual foam. If you do, you'll rip off all the work you did. Let me just adjust the brightness here. That's a bit better. If that did anything, that is. I keep going in an up and down vertical fashion, making sure to hit more from the top than from the bottom, because light will hit from top to bottom. And that looks pretty good for that side. Let me do a comparison here. Yep, that looks pretty neat. Hit a bit more down here. Now I'm going to turn it, flip it over, and get this side. Now on this side, I had to super glue a major area right here, which is why it's a bit lighter. But you'll notice, if I go over with my dry brushing, it won't be as noticed. Hopefully. Yep. Just like that. And you do the same thing on this side. Just carefully picking out all that detail that the actual foam and your brickwork has. Sorry if you can't see it that well. I'm holding it in a way that's convenient to me. Plus, I tried to show you with the other side. Let me get a bit more gray in here. There we go, that's doing it. And I would say the gray for this is done. I'm also going to give a bit of a brush to the inside edge of this, because on the inside here is supposed to be building. I also noticed there's a bit too much paint there, so I'm going to go over and try to get rid of a bit of that. It just looks like a brighter brick, so that's good. And final comparison, if I'm happy with it. Yeah, that looks pretty comparable. So next, I'm going to put away my gray, and I'm going to go over here and grab a bit of my raw umber. All of this is from DecoCraft, but before I'm going to do that, I'm going to go in here and wash off my actual brush. This doesn't need to be used after that. That was a bit of a wider brush. I'm going to use a more fine-tuned brush for this, as you can see here. Kind of low on brushes to begin with, but I'll make do with it. And what I'll do is get some on the brush, get rid of a bit of it, and in upward manners, I'm just going to brush on some brown in very light coats. And as you can see, if I go towards the grain, if it would have been... Oh god, my voice cracked. I'm trying to be a bit quiet though, it's closer to night. My parents are asleep. Gonna do a crafting night all night tonight. Yeah, so if you paint it along the actual edges, you'll notice it'll start looking like wood itself. So let me get the tops of this real quick with a bit more paint. And that's looking pretty good. Now this side, I'm going pretty light with this stuff because the next layer will be a very, very difficult thing to do due to how can I explain it? Overpowering my wine color is. I like to put over it. Get this done real quick. Maybe a bit more on the back on that window. And there we go. We are starting to get some wood peeking out. So normally I would go through with a kind of a like orangish color if it was new wood, but in this case it's abandoned wood. So what I'm going to go through is with a bottle of soft suede. The intended result will look something like these. So let's begin. Again, we're going to want to get rid of as much paint as possible and start picking out the details like we did last time. And as you'll notice, it'll start looking more like wood because the way the filaments or the filaments of the foam are. And considering the bottom ones don't run with the grain of the foam, I'm just going to have to deal with it. Dry brush a bit more on the top. And there we go. It's looking a bit better. Gonna get this side too. Doesn't look like I need much more paint. This stuff really makes a difference though. Maybe just a touch more. Yeah, there we go. Gonna get these tops now. And I would say that's pretty good. Now next step would be, and this is the messy part, to actually start adding ground cover. So for this I'm gonna move these out of the way. Move my good models back a bit, including my custom-made minifigure, hand-sculpted. And I'm going to clear the stage while I go grab this. I'll use this for now, but... No, I can use something a bit simpler. I can use this. This will hold all my foam once I do it. I mean, it's a good piece of wood, so I'm going to put this on here so I don't ruin that. And what I'm going to do is go back to my raw umber. And now, very, very thickly place it along the actual base, so it's like running, almost. You don't want it to actually be running, though. You want it to be thick enough that it'll be wet in one coat. Okay, pour a bit more paint. I'm trying to do this a bit quicker, so it won't mess up the actual model. There we go. And now this side. Very, very rapidly. Just get as much paint on it as possible without it running. And finish off this little angle. Now, don't worry if there's a bit of paint on the bottom. That's actually better, because it'll look like moss in the end. So there we go. We have the base primed and ready for flocking. So what I'm going to have to do is get up. I'm going to open up my water bottle and put my brush in there before I do this. But I have to grab my flocking material. This is all from Woodland Scenics. I keep it in a sorted bin because I got the sample pack. Here we go. So the first things first is I'm going to go in with a standard dark green around the base here. Just carefully placing it wherever I can. Bit missed there. Now, you want to take your time with this stuff. It's kind of expensive. You can make your own with a blender and some couch foam and water and paint. There are some videos on YouTube. Look up how to make your own fine turf. Okay, so that's good. Now I'll go in with a bit of a burnt grass color, which is a lighter color of one of the scenics that exists. And I'll just go in and place that around randomly wherever there's open spots. Just kind of putting it on. Now there's some areas in the cracks. All you have to do is hold it up and put it down like that into the cracks. So it looks like bits of moss. Next I'll just get a bit of the corners and the edges with this stuff. Clean up a bit of that. And finally, this little area. Now for this, I can just take it and dip it into the actual foam itself to cover it. I wouldn't advise that, but do what I say, not what I do. So I'm gonna get rid of the excess that sticks. And I'm gonna use this to dump it into my random bin. After I use all this foam, I pour it back into my one bin that's like full of different colors. Get rid of a bit of that. And we're ready for the next step after this. So, you all know how I normally would go about flocking these things with static grass from the last videos. So I'm gonna just put this off to the side for now. It's basically done. And bring attention to this. This is a bonfire. Seems pretty simple enough, but painting these can actually be difficult. So I'm gonna go grab my actual bin of water again. And I'm gonna get out and dry my dry brushing brush. Get rid of that so it's not gonna leak. Put that over there. Out comes my painting wood. And I'm gonna put this over here for now while I'm working on this. And for this, I'm going to do something a bit different. Now, normally I would just go through with just gray, which still would work, but would it be as interesting as what I want to do. Because this is a fire pit, and it held up a bit more, I'm thinking it'll be a bit more ornate, so I'm going to go through with my standard smoke slash gray dry brushing here. Making sure to carefully get everything I need. You already seen it, so I guess that's not really necessary. And there we go. That's good enough. Stones are all ready. And I'm also gonna... Nope, that's still a bit wet, so I'm gonna wait for that. Plus it's charcoal, so it would be a bit black. So what I'm gonna do after this is get as much gray off of mine as I can. Grab any metallic you want. In this case, I'm gonna use my dazzling metallic acrylic rich espresso, and I'm just gonna dry brush it on around these top stones. And you'll notice some of the actual gray will mix in, giving it an older look, more antique bricking. And I'm just gonna do that along the top layer. And there you go. Now we turn it on. It still doesn't look like a fire though, which is something I could fix very simply. So what I'm gonna do, or what you would want to do, is take a piece of cotton and actually cut it to shape, or not really cut it to shape, but kind of pull it and fluff it to shape, and just glue it over the top of this. Very simple stuff. I don't want to do that right now due to this, but I could try to see if I have something to replace cotton, which unfortunately I don't think. I kind of do. I have this gray stuff. You would just, you know, kind of put it over it like this, and there you go. You have your bonfire. And now, it's time to build your scene. We have all the materials ready, and basically everything created for an encounter. So let's say we have our little... Let me remove these real quick. Ignore how messed up this desk was. I got it from a school, pretty cheaply too. So let's say over here would be a tower with a little bonfire ready. You know, this is a little base caused by this guy. He would stand here, kind of leaning against his fire. There's remnants of buildings out here. Maybe some loot the guy brought with him. You get some of these rocks out, you know, build up the terrain in between, just randomly. There was a tree here, but it fell. And then we get this one random house here. And maybe a bit of brick wall out here to symbolize another place. Add some puddles, some more rocks, and suddenly you have a scene. There we go. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. This was another Crafting with Thomas. So I hope you guys find these videos interesting. Let me just hit the light real quick, show you how that looks. I always find this fun just to sit down and build stuff. So yeah, I would say this video was a success. It looks pretty realistic. So this is the end of part 2. See you next time with more videos. Feel free to request any other videos you might need for crafting. Anything is open. Seriously, just ask.